we can't do that.
What were you doing? The time is 6:26. If you haven't signed up to speak, you have 4 minutes to do so. I think he's trying to entertain himself.
Yeah.
Can you hear? Let's make sure we can hear you, Simeon. Say something. It's pretty faint.
I hear it out of the TV.
Maybe.
That might be it.
There's like a W behind it.
Say something now.
Is that, so this mic isn't on.
Let's push that. Tap on it, Charlie.
Tap on it. It's not on.
But I'm not your iPad's putting out of these things. I hear it. Oh, but the sound's coming from the TV.
Yeah. Now that volume may be down.
You control the remote, the sound, the remote.
I can.
So you can turn this one off.
Oh, we don't need that. All right, we're gonna try the. In the refrigerator, there sure is.
In the door. Open the door. All right, speak, Simon.
Oh, it is this
I'm
one.
here.
Good now. Say something, Simeon, please. Can we hear you now?
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, perfect. Okay, we can hear you loud and clear now. Okay, I need to make sure you guys know that the agenda was updated, so just check to make sure you have the updated one, if you wouldn't mind.
Has it sent back out?
She did, but of course she got sick, so.
You good? Tell me I hope you know that one.
So here's the appropriate one.
The audio is bad. Which side is it? This is the one that makes the copy.
Yes, you can have that one. Do you need?
I don't have a 12.
Okay, so she did send, well, I thought she sent, here.
Do you have number 12? I do, but I got here.
Yeah,
You have one for Tom?
I do.
Here, no, here you go.
You got one?
I need one more.
One more? Okay.
I got Constable Johnson's.
Okay,
Oh.
got it.
All right, well,
Oh, okay. So you got the updated agenda? Yeah. Okay.
huh.
What's that? Do you have this?
Hey, Jack. Here's the agenda if you need it.
We have two.
It's 6:29 if you would like. Okay, the time is 6:30. Welcome to our Poetry Town Council meeting for our beautiful town of Poetry, Texas on this Thursday, October 17th, 2024. We welcome you and want you to feel heard, valued, informed, and connected to your town and its council. We welcome diversity of opinion and want minority views as well as majority views to be heard. We also appreciate mutual respect despite opposing view. Your opinions, suggestions, and comments in favor of or against a topic are welcome. However, this town council meeting is not the time to ask questions or for interrogations. We encourage anyone having questions to come either talk to us over break or after the meeting to email or schedule a meeting with us. At this time, I need to remind the public that a disruption of this meeting may be considered a criminal offense according to Texas Penal Code 3813 and 4205. You must be signed up to speak during the meeting and stay on topic according to state law. To preserve the order and decorum of the meeting, any person who makes profane, slanderous, threatening remarks or becomes disruptive during the meeting will be asked to leave or may be escorted out by a peace officer and given a citation. Secretary Ann Hamilton is sick tonight, so in her place we have a volunteer clerk, Robin Bowles, to take roll call.
Probably can't hear me tonight. Okay. I have Councilmember Samuel White. Here. Councilmember Mike Jaffe. Here. Councilmember Tom Anderson. Here. Councilmember, Jonathan Blake. Here. Councilmember Terry Fowler, Here. And Mayor Tara Singovich.
Here.
Okay.
And thank you, Robin. And Robin just is post-surgery, so it's a little out of breath. Thank you, Robin, for stepping up. We appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. Councilmember Simeon White is working the Hurricane Helene area in eastern Georgia, so that's why he is on video. So since we can see and hear him, he can still vote tonight, just so you know. All right, so we have Pastor Paul Jacobs from Poetry Baptist Church. So if you'll rise, he's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and our invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us pray. And Father, I just know that you desire great things from your people. And you have ordained the church, and you've ordained the home, and you've ordained the state to carry out your work and carry out your will. And so, Father, I cannot imagine a church not being led by Christ, nor could I imagine a home where Christ is not preeminent. Likewise, Lord, we know that your word should prevail in any public meeting having to do with the matters of the state and the county and the city. And so, Lord, I just pray that your perfect will would preside tonight, and that you would bless each participant, and we'll thank you for all that you do. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Pastor. So appreciate you coming. Thank you so much. Okay, so under items of community interest, we have this Friday, so that's tomorrow, and Saturday, our cleanup day. So there are some flyers going around, and so if you've seen this flyer, so we have right out there 2 dumpsters free of charge. So citizens can take advantage of that. They can clean out things that need to be cleaned out, or we're trying to encourage folks to clean up maybe a half a mile of an area. We're trying to focus on FM 1565 and CR 2426, which is the road by the Springs Event Center. So we haven't emphasized those to date. We've had several of these in the fall and spring. So we encourage you to make it a family event and get a trash bag. We do have trash bags here. We do have Orange Vest here. So I can provide those for you, and now those grapple things are awful nice too. So we just encourage folks to get out, and it's been beautiful weather, and to make it a family event. And if you can, and this list also contains things which aren't allowed, mainly large appliances, paints, lacquers, inks, resins, asbestos, industrial materials, no tires, batteries, motor oils, or railroad ties. And then it goes on. But so just encourage you to get out and do that. Thank you. So moving on to reports. We have the September end. So the We've got a starting balance of $144,419.98. Deposits made were $14,030.17. We did get our franchise, Encore franchise fees and our sales and use tax revenue in that. We had withdrawals of $2,062.88 and checks paid of $1189.14. So that leaves our ending balance at $155,198.13.
It was brought to my attention, there's some other checks that are still outstanding that might need to be put on here for PR refunds that was overcharged. If we're tracking 5-cent return checks on FEC, we probably need to list all those PRR checks that hadn't been cashed.
Well, we have a lot of outstanding checks all the time. This one was specifically requested because these are outstanding like 2 years, and we're required by law to do a 3-year on this. We are not showing every time we do.
So there's other checks that's outstanding on this balance?
Yeah, anyone
all
who
I
does,
needed.
yeah, anyone who does bookkeeping
Okay.
knows, yeah, you always have some.
So we have
yeah.
outstanding checks still? Okay.
Yeah, you pretty much always do, yeah. All right, so, sales and use tax revenue report, we have, the September amount was $9,517.29. We have the road fund balance is over the $100,000 mark, it's $100,504.08. Our general fund balance at $54,694.05. So that matches our bank balance at $155,198.13. Okay, so we have a fella in town who started Fletcher Lawn and Landscaping. So since he was local, I let him give us a quote on what he might charge for doing the town hall lawn care. And it came in quite a bit of savings. So I felt like when we first hired Waldo, one of the prerequisites that he wasn't allergic to poison ivy, because his lot when we first started had a lot of poison ivy. So now it's cleaned up and it's a lot easier now. He is a Poetry Citizen who cares, and since he is a Poetry Citizen and it's a much better deal, I didn't think anyone would object to us trying to, the season's kind of winding down, but for the new year.
Is it per mow or per month? It's
Per mow.
per mow.
Well, it's mow, weed eat, blowing, edging.
And what are we currently paying?
We're currently paying $130
Per mow?
per mow, weed eat, yeah, all that. But again, when he first started, it was pretty rough. There was like vines this big of poison ivy, like everywhere. So it's gotten a lot better. He's done a good job, but the local guy is a certain amount of savings, so that's really, really nice. Okay, Secretary's report. Are you up to reading that or no? Is there a council member who might read that? You want to go ahead and read that, Mr. Blake?
Oh,
Would
sure.
that be okay? Okay.
Grab your family and trash bag and let's clean up poetry in the community-wide fall cleanup. This Friday and Saturday, we will have free dumpsters to provided to the town by Blackjack Disposal, located here at the Town Hall parking lot. We will focus on County Road 2426 by the Event Center and FM 1565. See the flyer for a list of items allowed and not allowed. A big focus this month went to updating the poetry website with outstanding town ordinances and resolutions. This, of course, will be an ongoing effort to maintain and keep current. Secretary Teresa is recovering from a rather painful surgery, and we will her well and pray for a speedy recovery. The skirting around the town hall has been completed. Now that the weather is beginning to get cooler, we should be able to work on the final exterior painting of our building. And I don't know who authored this. It says from Van and Teresa.
Yeah. Thank you. Sorry, then it was on the fly there. Thank you. So moving on to the consent agenda. We have the minutes from September 19th meeting, 2024.
Can we move those to the regular agenda, please? I've got a couple questions.
Okay. All those in favor? Okay, we'll move that, and then we'll make that to, we'll make that item A on the regular agenda. Okay. Item 2, this, approve the September legal bill of $1,055.75. All those in favor, is there a motion for that one?
I guess I would point out, I think you need to note that $877 of it was for the lawsuit.
So the bulk of that, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and that's noted in the agenda.
I know, I just wanted to make it again,
Okay, so it'd be like $200 without that, yeah.
and that'll be in the minutes.
Okay, all right, so is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Okay, so, and who's, second? Okay, we have a motion by Blake, seconded by Anderson to approve the September legal bill of $1,055.75. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay, number 3, we talked about this on the budget, but we didn't actually approve it yet. The LBJ Fire Lane at Town Hall quote for $21.90. He gave us a super great deal. He discounted $1,684 of his labor, I believe is what it is. So that's for out here, the 406 square feet of the concrete with, it's a 14-foot by 29-foot with half-inch rebar and 18 inches on center, 7 inches of concrete and a broom finish so that it'll withstand for fire lane. So is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
We have a motion by Blake, seconded by Anderson to approve this quote, $21.90. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay, and the Texas Municipal League, and I apologize, somehow, did you all get that one?
No.
All right, well, here it is. It's a bill.
Pass it around.
It's a bill, and $48.58.84 for the annual premium, and that includes the town insurance, the building insurance, workman's comp,
That gets us up,
cyber insurance that went up quite a bit,
gets us up to time.
and it gets the time. So when we first got insurance, we had to start in May, and now the fiscal year starts October 1st. So we finally are in sync with the fiscal year.
So it's a 12-month bill?
Yes. Yes.
What was it last year, Tara, do we know?
It's gone up a lot, 60% or something. It wasn't near that much, but like
And there's
everything
some-
else.
There's some added months in this to get us up to the
Right,
October.
I just wonder on an annual basis, what was it? It was something less.
It was
but-
quite a bit less. I don't have that figure in front of me, though. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion, we approve the Texas Municipal League
Okay.
Second.
municipal insurance.
We have a motion by Anderson, second by Blake to approve our insurance annual premium bill. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay, item A then will be the minutes. And on the regular agenda. And what was your comment?
Okay, so towards the back, number 11, if we recall the discussion about the ratifying the zoning ordinance, I remember you, Tara, leading with something to the effect, the attorney said we can only discuss this if we go into an executive session. And to me, it reads more like Terry and I just randomly said we wanted to have an executive session, but I would make the point, I think you offered that that was the way we could do it, and then that turned into a vote, and it got voted down, and we moved on. But I would like to capture the fact that, you know, the attorney advised us that any discussion needed to occur in an executive session, and then we voted on whether to have one, and we're outvoted, so we didn't have one.
Okay, that seems reasonable. Okay,
Other than that, I'm
And I got a couple of typos.
okay.
On page 5, under item 8, the last line in the first paragraph where it said was agree upon, it should be agreed upon.
Okay, number 8.
Yes.
Where is it?
The last line in the first paragraph
right before the bullet
Oh,
list.
okay, was
should be
agreed?
agreed.
Okay, got it.
And then over on item 13, where it said the, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 line down said the project expected to be added to the court docket. I think it should mean a commissioner's court docket, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we can specify that. That would be more clarifying.
Well, since we have a lawsuit going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's, right,
It's
it's
part
not
of
a,
the lawsuit, it's not part of the lawsuit.
right, it's commissioner's court.
Okay. All right, now that's a valid point. Okay. All right, so those 3 edits. Anything else?
Motion to approve the edits.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Jaffe, seconded by Blake, to approve the minutes of the last month's meeting with the 3 edits as discussed. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay, so moving on to item number 2 is the Hunt County H-17.
Bishop Fairfield?
Oh, wait a minute.
Item 1.
Oh, I'm sorry. I am so sorry. Okay, item 1, update on prospective Bishop Airfield LLC, the MUD. So we have Ms. Rankin here, Judge Rankin's wife Stephanie here to kind of give us an update on that cause. So, go ahead.
We've actually, since the last time I was here, have accomplished a few things. We were just getting started the last time I was here, and we're trying to get organized before we got a lot of people involved. But this is where we're at right now. We have accomplished in getting the website created and published, and so it is out there. It is www.bishopsfieldmudfight.org. And we have some general information on it now. What is a MUD? How can you help? How to get to the complaint page for TCEQ. We don't have a lot of information as far as exactly how this development will be built, other than the fact that they will be tapping into the Natchitoches Aquifer and providing a community well to provide for this community of 20, the application says 2,500 homes. And then they will also be building a micro wastewater treatment plant, which, according to the application, is going to be placed where there's really nobody around. Unfortunately, that isn't true, and some of that has to be addressed. So getting some of these things in place first before we start having meetings with TCEQ is really important. We also have a Facebook page established. All of those links are on the website as well. Also, and I'm not sure if I said this the last time we did the update, but our county judge and Hunt County commissioners also wrote a letter to TCEQ opposing this subdivision. When I talked to Commissioner Mark Hutchin, he also said that he would like to be able to, when time comes, to actually sit down with this developer and talk to him. Since we've started all of this, gathering information has been really, really important. I've learned more about water and MUDs than I ever really wanted to know. But hopefully, where the City of Poetry had started to talk with this developer, perhaps, we can convince them to alter their plan a little bit. I don't think we're going to get them to shut down, but you never know. There's a few things that, let me see here, where am I? The document that was sent out there were 7 people that they said would be affected by this subdivision. It's a 152-page application document. There's a lot of holes in it. Since they're fairly early in the process of getting their permit, TCEQ is trying to get them to catch up. They sent out a letter to them that's in that packet that has stated that a lot more people are affected and that they need to be also notified. We haven't seen any of that yet, and we certainly haven't seen the links on the website to show that they have accomplished that. But that is something that we're going to, I believe that we should press on to try to convince them to be open and aboard with all of that information. Our small group has gone through that 152-page document. One of the things at our first meeting that Representative Jill Dutton had said is that we have to have at least 200 complaints for TCEQ to even do a community meeting with us. And so really, as of yesterday, I think we had 175 complaints filed with TCEQ. We're short of the mark by far, and honestly, it would be a lot better if we had 500, even 1,000. There is plenty of people in this community just right around that subdivision that will be affected by this wastewater treatment plant. Our Sid Miller, who is the Ag Water, actually I don't have his title right in front of me, but he has been campaigning all over the state about how the state of Texas is going to run out of water, I believe by 2035, with all of the rapid growth that's going on in the state. We haven't had time to put in extra water sources, and obviously the communities aren't prepared to deal with the onslaught of people, and our roads aren't going to handle it as well. One of the things that we did in our research is that it is to combat this kind of a development is that we should ask our commissioners, the Hunt County commissioners, to do a, let me see if I can get the right language here. A community impact study. That community impact study would research the insufficient schools, the emergency services, the road issues, just for a few of those things, and be able to address them with the developer themselves. Anybody who lives in the area knows that 2434, 1565, the entire area is not ready for that many houses. And they haven't even begun to deal with the flooding issues. We are still actually working on contacting the bigger guns that we have, the better opportunities we are going to fight this. One of the things that we posted on our Facebook page is that the County of Rockwall is suing Mud Number 10, which I believe is across from the High Point Ranch on 548. And part of that mud that was put in was they had installed one person into that mud, and he, as one person, voted the board into place, and that the mud was established altogether. Mud boards can be very nefarious. The reasons that a mud exists, the reasons why the state created the mud ability is being exploited. And if they're used correctly in conjunction with the growth of the community, they can be fine. But our developers are looking at them as money makers. The article that was put out and the one we had posted, that particular developer has the opportunity to put in bonds that won't just be taxes that are paid within the community itself. It will be put out and paid for by even more of that county. And that's one of the reasons why they're suing them. And the article is quite good, so if you get a chance, go to our the Facebook page and read that article. It's put out by the Spotlight, Resolution Spotlight is the,
Is that the one that Judge New wrote?
yes.
It was very good.
It was a very good article. At the moment, that's where we're at. The next, that's what has been done so far. We had taken money up from the, during the first meeting, and we got 30 signs created, and those are out also right now. Although the windstorm that we had the other day, a few of them have disappeared into Kansas somewhere. But we have made the artwork available on the website as well, so if anybody wants to make more signs and get them put up, if they want to make banners, the PDFs are there. All you have to do is download them and take them to whatever printer you want, and you're welcome to do that. Those are all free, for anybody's use. The next step is to get a little bit more organized as far as how we want to proceed from here, and we would like to do a larger community meeting. So we are looking for a time and a space in which to gather more citizens, because what we're finding is that although people might generally know about this development going in, they don't really think it's going to affect them. And those people who do think it's going to affect them or are worried about what it's going to be like, they don't have enough information, and they don't. Everybody's busy with their lives, but what I know that it might be easier to get more complaints lodged and recorded with TCEQ if we sit down and help people do that. So that's one of the goals at the next community meeting is to get as many people to file their complaint as possible. Leanne Moore has created a sample complaint. If somebody's having a hard time knowing what to write in the complaint, because that's the other thing that they were talking about. You can copy and paste this right into the file and put the complaint in that way. But pretty much that's where we're at right at the moment. We have had a couple of citizens who are very good writers and very intelligent be able to pull apart that application and have written TCEQ directly. And we probably could use more of that. But that's where we're standing right now.
Any word on I think the big billboard space? Someone had suggested renting.
It hasn't been pursued since we've really been scrambling just to get this far, to get everything up and running to this place. I do believe that once we set the event for the community event, the billboard will be very, very important. I think, and we've had some comments over the yard signs, is that they're small, and the QR code, a lot of people are having a hard time figuring out the QR code.
We might, just an idea, we might go with a larger sign, 4x6 or something.
We really need some banners. We really need, banners put out in strategic locations. But so far, we haven't had that opportunity.
So, Tom, did you want to speak to this?
Yeah.
So, Tom's a retired chemical engineer, still licensed, and he came up with a very, very intriguing angle, and I thought it was very pertinent. So, and he's filed now too. But did you want to go ahead?
It's basically that, the best we can tell, they had underground aviation fuel storage.
Mm-hmm.
Well, by the RCRA laws, it's the Resource Conservation Recovery Act, it's RCRA called RCRA, that they require, particularly if there's housing, they require sampling throughout the area, because if there's leaks in a tank, and aviation fuel can either be turbine fuel like kerosene, or it can be gasoline. If it's gasoline, and at the time they were built, it can have lead in it. And if there's leaks, the leaks with our type of soil, it will go through the sand and stop it when it gets to a clay. And so, because we have more of a marble type of soil in this area, just because you can't just check beneath the tank, you have to check in a wider area, and they do that by drilling. There's companies, it's in housing by the lenders. No lender will lend money until something like this has been done. So, and apparently they are going to be borrowing money. They're not spending it out of their own pocket. If they were putting in a parking lot, you could probably get away with not doing anything. But particularly housing, it is critical. And it's all started back in the 70s and 80s with the Love Canal incident up in near Buffalo, New York, where there was a major spill. It got into the groundwater. They built, it got into the soil. They built housing above it. People started getting cancer, dying. It's just an enormous lawsuit, a lot of litigation that went on for years. Finally, the EPA went in and just tore down everything. They had to go down several hundred feet, rip out the soil. But then that started these RCRA laws, so that now today, and I know because I've worked on litigation assignments, today, if there's housing involved, they have to do the soil, and RCRA applies to soil, it doesn't apply to air. They have to do these soil tests in a pretty broad area, not just below the tank, but they have to do a sample, and there's the companies that do it know what the law is, how far you have to go out and where you got to drill, but you got to drill down and see and get the soil samples and checked, and no lender will touch it until that's done. So my thinking is that, and this is my complaint. I've written 2 complaints. This is the second one of the 2. Is that needs to be actually done because of the housing. If it wasn't housing, it wouldn't be important. An airfield, it's not. But because this goes back to the days when actually they had aviation gasoline had lead in it, tetrethyllead.
Right.
That if it leaked and got in there, even though it may be not leaking now, it could have leaked years ago and then been fixed. No lender, I think this is another angle to go to the lenders or let lenders know this has underground, as far as we can tell, has underground aviation storage, fuel storage. And so they are required by law to do these testing all around there. Now, the person, Elkwood Road, you'll probably say, oh no, it hasn't leaked. Well, just because it's not leaking now doesn't mean it didn't leak 20 years ago or 30 years ago.
Well, since it's not continuing on as an airport, it really needs to be addressed anyway.
Well, absolutely. But you can't just say, well, we checked underneath the tank and there's no oil and no leak. That's not valid because it's been there a long time. Leaks can be fixed, plugged, everything. And leaks could have occurred back in the days when aviation gasoline was there, which back in the 70s it still had lead in it, tetrethyllead. And this was, I believe, built in the 70s and 80s,
Yeah.
that area. So anyway, that's my other complaint, the second one, which is you can't move forward with this, as far as I know legally. No lender, if a lender's aware of this, a lender's not going to approve any kind of loan, whether it's a government loan or private loan. Lenders have to know that because they know what happened with the Love Canal. That costs, you know.
Was it a super fund issue where they
Yeah,
had
that
to?
one was totally,
Well-
it totally had to be eradicated in 2004.
But it just about
Couldn't be
bankrupted the Superfund. And then they had a second Superfund at Sykes Field down in landfill down near Houston, and that pretty well drained the Superfund. So same thing, very similar thing. So anyway, even though the Superfund actually did a lot of the cleanup, there was enormous lawsuits. In fact, one of the companies that I did work for, I mean, it took them 30 years to come out to pay off all of the money from the lawsuits they were under. So the Superfund doesn't cover everything. There's still lawsuits that happen. So that's why lenders will not, particularly, they will not touch something without having, you know, the RCRA type of testing that is throughout the area, not just directly underneath the tank. So anyway, that's my second complaint. Haven't heard back with it from them, of course, but if we have a public hearing or have anywhere that we can go talk to the the TCEQ as well as the lenders, if you hear about the lenders, we need to know who they are. They need to be alerted as well, because they probably don't realize this.
Well, one of the things that we have noticed about when you have low-income housing, we don't exactly know what housing is put in here. We suspect, based upon some of the evidence, that the housing is going to be very similar to that housing project, the Wildwood housing project over on Poetry Road.
Smaller lots.
So they're smaller lots, smaller houses, smaller lending amounts. The problem with MUDs and the problem with what's being exploited now is that they bring people in with these smaller loan amounts, and they have to put, because most of them don't have great credit to start with, some of these lenders that come in can be predatory. So they will come in, they will take their large, downs, whatever they can come up with for a down. They charge a higher interest rate, even that, a lot of people have to buy a home. They get them into the house, then a couple of things happen. Then they have this extra fee that's not just an HOA fee, it is the HUD fee that they have to pay, because the taxes in a MUD are higher than what most of us pay. So they have this extra tax. By the time they get done with their first year, they no longer can afford their house payment. And so then we're down to evicting people. We already do a lot of convictions in South Hunt County anyway, but with this subdivision and others, if other ones go in like this, it's just going to grow. So the lenders, it's going to be hard to preempt that, to try to stop that ahead of time. But it might be something we might be able to write a letter to the AG's office and say, because obviously this is not just our issue, it's an issue that we're seeing throughout the state.
It's required. It isn't optional, and lenders won't touch it without it, but it is required for housing.
If they know about it.
If there is any kind of potential hazardous waste underneath it, they have to come in and do the soil testing.
That's true.
Air
But we
filters
already
in
know
the
this
name.
guy's tried to sneak a lot of things through without
Well-
anybody knowing.
Well, I mean, I've worked a lot of cases on this, even acquisitions. Lenders won't touch it without having this proper soil testing.
In the application, I didn't see anything where it said it had,
They
No,
don't even mention the airfield.
the airfield,
No.
they don't mention it at all.
the oil, the,
Yeah, I read through it, but
the
I didn't
steel
see
things.
anything, so but it is in the name, and that,
but of course they
Yeah.
wouldn't.
yeah.
And they'll assume, most people don't know that they've got underground fuel storage.
Fuel storage.
In the USD.
And the reality is that it could be, maybe nothing, but you can't move forward without having all of the proper record tests, soil tests.
I
Right.
looked it up, Tom, just to make sure I wasn't speaking out of turn, but aviation gas has always contained lead. It still does. In fact, to run unleaded in an airplane, you have to get an STC.
Okay,
You can only do that in little airplanes, so they have never stopped putting lead in aviation gas.
It
Never.
stopped in cars back in the
That's
80s.
correct, but it
but
is
not in-
still in
It's still
avgas.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's,
There we go.
yeah.
It's
So
a-
even
it's-
if they filled those tanks up last week, they had lead in them, so.
And lead clearly is a hazardous waste.
I think there's several places that we can do this. Our commissioners, although they can't stop a MUD, they're not allowed, to get involved in stopping the MUD creation. There are things that they can do in terms of the approving of phases. There is things like the road adoptions. There's things that our commissioners can be involved in. So although sometimes it can cause a lot of fuss, I think that it's important to get them involved, which is like the community impact study, I think is very, very important.
Well, I know how busy our commissioners are. Is that something that a commissioner has to do, or is it something that
He can order it
he
done.
could order it? Because they're so
They can't
busy.
do it themselves, they really can't, they don't have time for that.
Yeah.
And right now, we're having this election, our general election's coming up November 5th. I know that the community meeting, when we've all talked about it, when we schedule it, it'll be after the general election. So we're looking to at least 2 weeks out. Probably 3.
Okay.
So a small portion of this is in Rockwall County. Did you know that?
A small portion of the
development.
development, yes.
So, I like your steps moving forward, but I would think if there's gonna be a community, what'd you call it, an impact study? I think Rockwall could be included in that too. They're already fighting the one with Wildwood, but Portrait Road, which is at Rockwall County, and Munson coming in are both gonna be affected by that development too. So, if they're willing, I would definitely twist their ear, as well as the Hunt County
Wait.
commissioners.
To be honestly, I haven't even talked to the Rockwell Commission, commissioners yet, but yes, I agree with you on that. I didn't even think about that.
It's just a small portion, but
Yes.
it affects their roads, and
Help
it's
a
in
lot
their
of
county,
cars.
which gives them a little bit of power. I
There
guess.
was a right-of-way lawsuit that went in. There is, let me look at my phone because it's right on my phone. It is the Shaws who live, I believe, off of Poetry Road.
So this is the Rockwall County line, so show me what part are you saying? That's Hunt County, that's Rockwall.
Looking on the CAD map, it clearly extends over the line.
This extends over the Rockwall line?
Oh, maybe down at the bottom there on the left.
Yeah.
No,
But that's
There's a
not
gap
exactly
here.
right.
This is,
See that
well, this
portion
is
right
actually the Kimley Horn engineering
I mean,
map.
it's clearly shown on the
Is
CAD
it?
map.
Okay, I've been looking at the Kimley Horn map for so long.
Well, it's,
That
That
dotted
one
line right there,
This right here?
that dotted line,
Uh-huh.
that triangle continues, and that's on the
Oh,
Rockwall County
continues
side.
here,
Yeah.
so it jets down
Okay.
in here.
You know what, they might have been avoiding that. They may not actually be planning on building
And
in that.
they possibly may not.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe so.
It
It's
shows
to
it
stay
ex-
in one county.
Yeah, it shows it
okay.
extending over
But
Redfield Creek.
their ownership of the land actually falls
I was
in.
gonna
That's
say,
correct.
that's an inaccurate survey, right? Because
But to her point, the community
Well, it's a
impact.
survey
could
of the
still-
mud,
They're saying that's where they're
not the
gonna
property,
build.
yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
okay.
So if the mud's gonna stay only in Hunt County, then maybe, I don't know,
If I was them, I would.
Yeah.
Stay out of
that would
trouble.
make sense. Okay, so Stephanie, thank you so much, and,
You're very
and we will, be looking for that larger meeting, and then we can hopefully disseminate that information or help do that anyway, just let us know, and,
yeah, thanks for doing it.
You're I mean, we need more people. I mean, we were just a small group just trying to get it organized, but we definitely need more of an army to work on this
well,
thing.
it sounds like we need at least 26 more complaints to get it pushed
We
over the
absolutely
200
do.
mark. So,
We absolutely
okay,
do.
so everyone, yes.
That, the lawsuit that they were talking about is Carol Shaw versus Bishop's Airfield. Bishop sold them a piece of land for their house. It was like a 2-acre piece of land for their house. And they allowed Bishop to use, there was an old farm road that went through the property, and Bishop used that to get to the cows on the backside of the property. Mr. Eckenrode tried to take that as a permanent right-of-way. And so that was what that lawsuit is. Right now, I believe they have won their appeal, but I don't know what the current state of all of that is.
Do you know where on this map that
I
lies?
don't know exactly where that is. We haven't had a chance to go over and talk to the Shaws.
Probably on the Hazel District.
Is that the one, because there is the half a mile that goes into 2440, so there's this one right here.
It may be that.
But that one, it's like exactly half an acre, and it just jets out into 2440 as an access.
That very well could be where it's at. That very well could be where it's at. I know that Clay, when he was campaigning for judge, talked with all of those people back in there, and I believe he met them. And it was a story that we originally talked about, and when we found out that they were in the middle of that lawsuit, and it has a lot to do with that. I don't know how they're gonna get all the trucks, because I know they were talking about bringing a lot of the construction trucks up Poetry, and then going in that back way.
Well, there's 2 bridges that are woefully inadequate for that kind of build, so.
Very much is.
Well, and I
Thank
did
you for the update.
I did ask Judge Stovall and Commissioner Monroe if they had been apprised of any of the Kimley Horn plans. They have on there, not on this map, they have another one that shows, let's see if I can see it, shows they want to put 2 stoplights in, and he said they haven't consulted them at all, so they have not done that. So they have 3 or 4 that we have.
When Jill talked to TCEQ, they're just in their very early stages of engineering for all of this. Although they have enough of it to show where all of the well locations will be and where the wastewater treatment plant will be. If you look at one of the images that they have of where they're placing the wastewater treatment plant, it goes right behind Gabe Defoe. I can't remember how to say her last name. She lives on 2469 behind us, and her property backs up to right where the wastewater treatment plant will be. And there is some question as to whether the setbacks are correct. They have said that they only needed, I think it was like 150 feet of setback. But I believe because it's a residence and not commercial, that it needs to be like 500 feet. There's a lot of, we definitely have some fighting room. I think that the facility they're putting in, the effluent pipe is supposed to be a gravity pipe. We know that creek floods every spring. Every spring it floods, and this year it flooded really very, very badly. But the pictures they took show that it was just within the banks of the creek, and
Yeah, I saw that.
it was all really great.
Yeah. Nothing to see here.
Nothing to see here. They don't. Oh, and there's nobody who lives around here. It's all wilderness.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
thank you, Stephanie.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Anybody have
There is no
No comment.
persons signed up for that. Okay. Any council comments? Okay. All right, so moving on to number 2. So Commissioner Monroe and Aaron, his helper, got back with me just today. There's a lot of sides that need to be handled on these roads, so it's $4,500 is his estimate on these 6 roads for repair. So,
4,500.
yes, so it's CR 2458, 2434, 2432, 2426, 2326, and 2400.
Any comment?
What was the number again, 54?
45.
4,500 is for Hunt County Project Sheet H17.
I guess the only thing I'd say is for asphalt under B, it says material, equipment, and labor. Actually, it's fuel and materials. Hunt County, by our ILA, we don't pay for labor or equipment, only fuel and materials.
So I need to edit that, you're right.
But we typed that in, that's not them, so we'll change it.
Well, I can change it. So labor and equipment for completion, but then,
It should be fuel and material.
Right. Fuel materials is $4,500.
Or you could just say labor and equipment for completion, no charge or something, just to make it clear.
okay, material, fuel. This actually, original form was actually Kaufman's and we retrofitted some
Well, yeah,
material,
there that
fuel.
would be correct.
Okay, so material and fuel to be used on this project, labor and equipment for completion, no charge. So when I submit that, I usually have a check and I submit it to them. I can modify that. That's a good point. Thank you for that. Is there a motion?
Any public?
There is not.
Motion to approve with edits.
Okay.
Second.
Okay.
Okay, I make a motion, we accept this,
I think there's a motion on the floor already.
He said it.
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he
Excuse
beat you
me.
to it.
I'll second.
There's already a
We're all
second.
excited.
Okay,
I
then
got
I'm
the
sorry.
second.
We're
We're
always.
out.
So we have a motion by Blake, seconded by Jaffe. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. All right, going to number 3. This one is vote on the town hall shutter/trim paint colors, white, black, gray, or other. Since it was gonna potentially be a change, I thought it'd just be best to get it out and open here. So, I think currently it is actually gray. It's not really white. It's a very light gray that's on the shutters. And I think it's this one. So I didn't print out a bunch of these because it's a lot of ink. But this is currently, it's a very light gray on there. Someone had suggested a darker gray, okay? Or black is kind of all the rage right now. A lot of folks are saying black. I think both the secretaries like the black. And then this is actually a mahogany. I guess if you're,
Well, my vote was for the mahogany, or
I
whatever
wonder
color
why.
it is.
And I think someone mentioned that's a color of a teen, an A&M.
No,
No. Anyway, so I don't know if there's any, I know that this isn't hugely that important, but I thought we'd just bring it up. So there's no citizen comments, any discussion among council,
I was in favor of the black.
Yeah, dark gray or black would be good.
Yeah,
something that shows out more.
yeah.
Is there
Do we have to vote on it? No, we have to vote on it, huh? Okay.
so, all right, so who's in favor of, okay, so you didn't say the light gray, that's what's currently on there.
No, I think
People think it's
something
white.
towards black, either
And I
all
think-
the way
yeah.
black or almost black because it's so dark or gray, so
Okay.
contrast.
Okay. So currently, it was kind of that way originally because the church was white on white and it was to kind of blend with that. But, so any other comments? So we have a darker gray or a
We got a
black.
black rail fence.
We have a black blue fence, and I think the painter just told me today, they actually power washed yesterday, and kudos to them. They actually power washed our gutters for us. That was a gift. That was so nice. But he bought the paint for the rail, and he said, hey, I can use the same paint for the shutters if your council votes to do that. So he already has the paint apparently. But it's a darker gray or there's black.
Motion for black.
Is there a cost for this?
No, they're doing it free of charge. They repaired all the cracks, and you couldn't even tell. They did such a good job. They repaired all the cracks inside, painted it all, and I could just smell it. I couldn't really see it, but they did all that, and yeah, there's no charge. It's
Well-
Brett Patterson, Ace Decor, Ace Paint and Decor. So he's been very supportive.
And I'm fine with black, I think the trim
that
is
okay?
nice. Yeah,
All right.
I'm not
So
gonna-
do you have a preference on whether it is? I think whether it is just the shutters or it's the shutters and the trim.
I would say
Shutters
shutters.
and trim. I like.
Yeah.
You like the shutters and the trim?
Yeah.
Any preference, guys?
That's fine.
Okay,
The
all
outline.
right. Okay,
Next item.
okay, so it sounds like we have a majority for the black. Is everyone okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, that's fine.
all right. I've heard that there's church splits over carpet, so I thought we'd just go over the shutters. All right, number 4. Town of Poetry flag ideas. So, I think in the packet we have other cities have their flag. We've been around 4 years now. It wasn't the highest priority in my book, but it is something that some people are interested in. And so these are just kind of ideas. The 5 stripes, if you're wondering, was for 5 council members. I didn't do this, but the 5 stripes was
This
for
was
council
my
members.
idea.
And
I took from
Councilmember Blake had an idea.
I like the
Here.
Sunnyvale one. Of course, these colors would be they're not right here on the printout, but that was just a rough.
Well, let the camera see it. I think that's kind of nice.
The camera? Where's our camera?
Camera.
Oh, the camera. I don't even
That's
think about
kinda
the camera. So,
And Simeon, can you see that? Can you see it?
I've got that stuff pulled up on my computer, I'm good.
oh,
Okay.
you don't have that one.
This is Blake's. This is, so he just changed it where it's a green stripe at the bottom, white stripe on the top, and then purple.
Like a
in the
Texas
seal.
flag,
But we could have a citizen contest. There are probably some illustrators and artists among us that could do a great job, but Secretary Ann was thinking we could sell little flags and have a fundraiser so we could buy the flagpole. Because we obviously would need another flagpole.
Oh, I marked 1A. I kind of like that
Little
one.
1A.
Just plain and
Here you
simple.
go. I like Blake's too. Any comments on that?
Can you put that on the form and have people vote on it?
Let people.
Maybe the form they can't participate, but do you want?
How do we get a survey from them?
Well, that is a challenge. I did one through the Poetry Post and it did not, I think I got 6 responses. So the surveys don't I mean, I guess we could put it on social media maybe. What do you guys think of that?
Nice to get some citizen input if we have some.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Very
no one
creative.
speaking on that. We have some artists among us and it is, you know, it's, I do like, in fact, I might take a picture of that one. I like Blake's.
You can
I think
have it.
that's nice. You want me to have it?
You can just have it. I mean, you can have Lauren do it right if you want.
That's
I
nice.
guess I would say I like the idea of a flag. And,
Do you?
I mean, I'm generally more simple, so that's 1A.
Yeah.
I thought it was a simple one, but
It is simple.
I'm easy.
All right, not a lot of talk from our council on this, but do you fellas, what do you think? Just, you know, put it out there on,
Yeah.
Social media,
I'm like
maybe?
you, it's not a priority to me, so I don't.
yeah.
I like the American flag, but, you know, someday we have a town flag, that's fine, but I'd put it out there and let the citizens
Okay,
get creative with it.
all right. Well, I can do that and we'll see what they come up with. All right, moving on then to number 5. After the sobering thing about the mud, it was nice to do some light things, but here back to kind of the heavy thing. So I sent you the picture in the packet. So when we had the huge trees on 249 at the Oliver residence, her fence was damaged. So I met him out there, this Waldo, out last Friday. We discussed it. He actually, the holdup was, this happened in July, he ordered 4 times. He gave the fence company the measurements, he gave them pictures. 4 times he ordered with them, and 4 times he got the wrong panel. So what he surmised, though, that this is actually a custom job, and after talking with the owner, she said that it was there before when they moved in. And so it was actually, it's not aluminum at all. It is heavy metal. And it was probably a custom job, and then that's why he couldn't find a panel. So he stayed late Monday night with another welder friend. Here is a picture of the finished job.
Oh.
And so they did finish it finally Monday night, and then this is the panel right next to it. So you can see the fence has been there for a number of years. So some of the finials at the top are damaged. This is the one, so this is kind of the one right next to it. This is his repair job. So he did work really
Good
hard.
job.
They had to cut it and weld it, and it was a long, arduous process. But I did check with the owner. She's out in California right now, so she has not seen it. But I did ask her to get back with me and let me know what she thinks.
Well, it looks like a good job.
So, okay, there we are. I don't have any citizen comments on this one. Okay, so number 6, owing to his change of vocation, out-of-state work, moving co-signatory and accountability on municipal bank account from Councilmember White to Mayor Pro Tem Blake. Councilmember Anderson has been so attentive. He's local. He's been very, very good about, hey, I've got a couple checks to sign, and he's like, yeah, he's usually there within an hour or 2. He's very, very good about that. But on occasion, Simeon's had to sign, but now that he is all over the country working as an adjuster, and there's plenty of storms for him to have job security, I did discuss that with him prior to both of them. So we need to officially vote on that for that to happen. So, and then we'd have to take the signatory, he'd have to go to the bank, sign all the papers.
I think all of us have to go.
Probably all 3 of us would have to go. I don't know about Simeon. Next time you're in town, I'll check with the bank on that, but any comments on that? Okay,
Just let me know when.
is there a motion? We need a motion.
Make a motion for Mr. Blake to replace Mr. White for signing the checks.
Okay, it's a co-signature. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Anderson, second by Blake. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay. Number 7, setting the date for the volunteer appreciation. This was something that Secretary Ann, it was kind of her idea. She just thought that, you know, look, you guys have all these volunteers, and I talked to a few of our volunteers and like, look, we don't need a plaque, we don't need nothing, just feed us barbecue. So I'm like, well, that's probably a good idea. It might be kind of fun. Just say, hey, we appreciate you. So I looked on our logbook, which we have to keep our volunteer logbook both for auditing purposes and for insurance purposes. So we have the logbook, and it was around 35 different volunteers in the past 3 years. So I did talk with both a fellow that does barbecue, Danny's. He's done it for Kaufman County, and he's actually really good. He provides tea, a dessert, and the barbecue plus 2 sides and bread. Now his price used to be $12 a person. It's gone up to $14 because of inflation. And then I went to the new fella that I've heard good things about in Terrell, Kevin's Barbecue. They're on, is that 9th Street? Anyway, his is also $14, but that doesn't include dessert or drink. So, because of the increased price, when I did this, I was thinking it was going to be $12, and then we'd have a little bit of extra for, you know, decorations or whatever. But so at that increased rate, the $6.50 is really, really tight. But any comments on that? We might need to up it a little bit more because of the $14. But it really depends on how many we have, and I think we would have to, you know.
Tara,
Yeah.
isn't the 23rd the Friday after Thanksgiving? Is that right?
Saturday.
Pretty close to Thanksgiving.
It is.
If it's
So it is, no, Thanksgiving's on the 28th.
Okay, so
this
it's
is
a
the
Friday.
Saturday before Thanksgiving.
okay,
Thanksgiving falls a little later.
okay, so
this
more
year.
people will be around, yeah.
Yeah, probably. But it's,
So where do we take stuff like this, Tara, from the budget?
well, so this was in community events. Because Ann had mentioned it earlier, we did include it in the budget under, we have a heading under community, I forget that. And I did include, that's the old one, under community events. And I was thinking around $6.50, but it might have to go up a little bit. But
So is this all, for all 3.5 years, we're gonna invite the volunteers? Is that what you're saying?
I looked in the logbook.
Because we didn't always have the logbook.
That's right.
Well, not everybody
So I
signs
wanna
it.
make
Not
sure,
every,
well,
well,
that,
if they don't sign it, I put their names in it.
but we didn't have it.
We didn't have it, so I'm just, anybody
we
who's
gotta
in
make
our
sure.
logbook,
Well, and are we gonna include people too that have donated money, right? People that, or is it just for laborers?
that's something to discuss.
Well, that number is gonna be tied into both of those questions. Who are we inviting?
So
for
I have the
labor and-
logbook for the last, from 22, 23, 24. So, but we do have, I have sort of a tentative list from others, so that's a good point, we need to discuss. But again, a lot of people may not come, so we would have to get, I think that they should come and we give them a ticket or something so that we know, okay, we know how many we have.
But then,
Or
then what about spouses and kids?
then they would probably have to pay.
Okay.
Yeah, because we don't, I know we have $6.50 and maybe $700, but we don't have more than that.
So the volunteers would just get a ticket?
Volunteers would get a ticket for a free meal. Is it, thank you very much, but then if they want to bring their significant other, spouse, children, then they could, but then I would have to have a count so then we could tell the
So
payer.
we need invitations, then, evites.
Right, I could, we can, and some of that may depend on how many people we can get a hold of, but, and maybe I don't know, do you have any suggestions on that?
Well, put it on the form that if anybody's volunteered in the last 3 years, to email the town with what you did in your email address, so we could do an evite, so we can have RSVP, so.
I mean, and just in our community interest, a lot of times I try, and that's one reason I do, is so we have a record of, so a lot, I could probably go back in some of that if it wasn't in the logbook, but like before we started recording in the log. So in 21, before we started doing the logbook, we could capture those folks perhaps that way.
And to Mike's point, the people that's donated money, they're not gonna sign a logbook either, so we might need to capture.
I mean, I would
That's
think of them
Some
like
people give, some
volunteers.
people do.
Yeah,
Right.
Givers
I mean-
are just as important.
Yeah, I mean, I think
We brag
there's a
about
lot of crossover, but there are some who have just given money, and that's very appreciated, and
It's what
so,
floated us for a long time.
absolutely.
Well,
So-
to have them email in too.
So maybe
We should have
it's
record of that.
for,
Well, yeah, if you have a receipt for
volunteers and
donations,
those
we
who
may not have an
donated.
email address. That may be the only thing, it's just, but if you,
I mean, this building is a product of a lot of donations.
well, most of it was donated time and donated resources.
yeah, even my son worked on this building.
I mean,
I think our list is gonna be bigger, is I guess what I'm getting to.
Oh, yeah,
no,
but
I
I
think
can tell you, he's probably not written down
But to
anywhere.
Tara's point, how many of those people are gonna show up?
well, I mean,
Especially when we tell them they gotta pay for
their
something else
significant
in
other.
the cars.
Well, I mean, when the PCCS students came over, they got credit for that. So I wasn't planning on inviting 100 kids. They got credit for the community service for that. So I was thinking more online with people who were the repetitive ones who, have, year in, year out have been, just say, hey, we do appreciate you.
Now, this would be an outdoor event,
Yep, I was thinking right out here.
which I guess that partly depends on the weather,
It
so
does, of course.
we'd have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's a month from now, it could be cold.
Or warm.
Yeah.
You
Well,
never
we've
know.
had the Christmas thing has been outside
Yeah.
a lot, and it's, you wear a jacket if it's cooler. But, and I actually, I know Secretary Teresa was talking about a van that she had used, and I thought, okay, I could throw that in. And I haven't talked to my husband about that, but she did that for her husband's birthday, and they were very good, just to kind of make it a fun atmosphere. But any other comments on this? So since it is, I think we can, would you fellas be okay with upping it to 700 since the price of the barbecue's gone up?
Now, what about tables and chairs and all that?
We have probably adequate chairs. Well, it depends on how many come, but we have about, I know we have like 40 chairs, and then I can borrow from the churches and stuff. So I'm not
Okay,
sure.
but I mean,
And the
do we-
school's been very good about lending
I got
us.
4
So-
tables I can give you.
We don't have room for, well, I guess we put an attic. Okay.
They're really nice commercial plastic
Okay.
tables.
How big are they?
There are 2 6-foot, 2 8-foot, and there are 2 corners that lock together so you can make
Okay,
them in
awesome.
a U.
Okay, awesome, yeah. Well, we could put them in the attic maybe.
Or I would store them somewhere nice because they're really nice tables, but I'll donate them to the cause.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. You said 4 tables.
Okay, 2 8-foot, 2 6-foot. And they have
Okay.
they have the legs at the corner. They're built for putting chairs under. And so you don't
Okay.
sit.
And possibly if the weather, we have the forecast, if the weather's to be bad, we could maybe see about like Faith Temple or, allowing us to do it
Yeah,
there
I
or
have a
something.
rain plan just in case.
Yeah, we might have to, I talked to Chuck about that. Hey, plan B is, would that be doable, so.
I'll bring you the tables regardless.
Okay, that'd be great.
So if something
Any,
comes-
any other comments on that?
No, I mean, my only, other than the complication, and you'll figure that out, or somebody will, because it's getting a little complicated. I just want to make sure that we're fair in who we invite, that there's
Okay.
no bias, that we invite people. If they volunteered, they need to
Absolutely.
be invited, whether
Absolutely.
we like them or not like them, or they're happy or angry or whatever, just to.
We want to be, yeah, no, absolutely.
We'll put it on the form to have on email too. I mean, put it everywhere you can put it so we can get the contact information in case you don't have it.
Okay. Yeah, it'd be, because I may not have everybody's. Now, I've tried to send thank you notes, and I try and look up the addresses. So I think I have them, since I've tried to do that, but, okay, so would you?
And if they're not comfortable emailing, tell them to email their council person if they're,
Sure.
if,
I get it, but
All right, so are you guys okay with upping that to 700?
That's fine. I don't have a,
What is our contingency if we find out there's 52 people?
I won't eat a plate.
Okay.
I mean,
Maybe
it could be a
count,
real
I don't
question.
know, no, that could be.
it could, but,
You don't think it's an issue?
well, I don't know.
Well, most of those places, you have to give them a final count like a week or 10
Yeah.
days in
Right.
advance.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I guess it can be revised in the November meeting if y'all want to.
Okay,
Yeah.
hopefully by then we'll have a good count.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, put a RSV date on those notices so that,
yeah,
you know,
Yeah, well, and if it goes a little over, I might chip in some, but, hopefully, it'll work out just great.
It is in the budget. I'm not
No,
robbing from roads or anything.
no, it's in the budget, under
Can't rob
the
from
public
roads.
committee. Yeah, we can't.
Well, because I'm a bigger fan of asphalt than I am free barbecue, but, just for the citizens' sake. But
Yeah.
well, that's me.
All right, so we'll,
I don't care if I eat it.
do we have a vote to go ahead?
Any public
Any
comment?
public comments on that? 7. Okay, so Shelley Smith? Yes. Kevin Sinkovich? Okay.
Motion to accept your $700 budget.
$700, okay. Any second?
second.
We have a motion by Blake, second by Anderson to accept a $700 budget for the Volunteer Appreciation Barbecue on Saturday, November 23rd, 5 p.m. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously, okay? All right, we're gonna take a 5-minute recess. 7:42 is the time.
ready to move on.
Oh,
Move on, guys. All right, the time is 7:47. We're gonna resume our regular agenda. We have number 8, volunteer road team, $4,500 for any pothole repairs for roads as needed this quarter. So, so I have a spreadsheet of the ones that, they did from February through September, and, they had about $7,500 for those. And the reason that I put on here, repairs for roads as needed, not just Kaufman County, was because we've seen where in between time, there might be one big pothole on one road. And since we specified it could only be spent on Kaufman roads, then we're like, well, we can't spend any money because it's a Hunt County road, but if we open it up to either, anything that needs it. So in between times, it might be 2-3 months in between, a Hunt County repair sheet, and there might be 1 or 2 potholes that really need attention, and what do we do, you know? So if the volunteer roads crew is out, they could go ahead and swing by and pick up, you know, 1 or 2 potholes as needed, if we go ahead and open it up that way.
Well, I think 2434, living on 2434, I think we should, because when it rains, we can get big potholes there in a hurry, especially if there's heavy truck traffic.
Right.
They really tear it up.
So they're just asking for a kitty of 4,500 that they can pull out of to buy as needed.
Okay.
Well, and they're out of money. You can see here, they're out of money pretty much, because a whole load is at least between $650 and $700. So,
can we amend this amount later? I mean, you're specifying for the quarter, but if they,
Well, we can get money anytime we want.
okay.
yeah,
Well,
I mean, we're just, for the new fiscal year, we're just saying, hey, $4,500, and it might be in December, we might have to say, hey, they need some more money.
That's-
Depending
okay.
on weather, a lot of it depends on weather, and whether he can get volunteer crews going, if, you know, people travel a lot and they're not available, or if the trailers are available, there's just a lot,
yeah.
a lot
We have
of
citizen
factors.
Is the audio turned back on?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
You know what, mine's not though, I apologize. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
You can hear me?
Online said they couldn't hear.
No.
Okay. There we go. Can you hear me better now? Okay. So number 8, Kevin, did you want to speak to that? Okay. All right, is there a motion?
Sorry. Well, I make a motion, we accept the $4,500 and open it up to Hunt County as needed, if needed.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion by Anderson, second by Jaffe, to allow the volunteer roads team up to $4,500 for any pothole repairs for roads as needed. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay, number 9, approve the 4th annual Christmas lights event for Saturday, December 21st at 5 p.m. So the committee last year said, hey, get it approved earlier so we can start earlier, so that's why we're here in October. And then we want to change the name to the Evie Anderson Christmas Lights event in her memorial. Evie was integral to this whole thing. She developed the judging sheet. She got all excited. She was, it was amazing to see. She really got everyone enthusiastic about the whole event, and she'll be missed sorely. And so I just felt like that was fitting. So.
Well, I appreciate it. She did like Christmas and Thanksgiving. Those were 2 favorites.
She was always very excited, very creative. I really appreciated her.
Any public comment?
Number 9. Nope.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Blake, seconded by Anderson. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay, number 10, revising the rules of procedure to allow citizens to speak for 3 minutes in front of the meeting for general public comment / citizen comments, so they do not need to wait through the end of a long meeting, and striking items F and K on page 4. This was brought up by Councilmember Blake and Councilmember White.
Also had some other edits, but I think Tom probably has them better.
I think when we were talking earlier, Jonathan, we kind of,
On page 5.
you were mentioning a couple things that, Simeon, did you have something you wanted to say on this? Or are you want me to go over this? Oh, are you there?
I'm
You
here.
scared
I'll
me.
say
It was a
something
little
briefly. Oh, my apologies. Yeah, I was just on mute before. But, yeah, I mean, we've been doing it one way this whole time. I've had a lot of people, mention the length of time they have to wait to speak on any subject, so it's nice to have general comment in the front. But then also the difficulty of having to slog through, certain non-constructive comments too, as it went on. You know, Mr. Tom brought up a long time ago that, no other towns do it like us, and we were kind of being a rebel against the system for a while, giving that a try. Certainly our meetings aren't as good as we could imagine them being, mostly in some of the spirit that comes with it, perhaps some argumentativeness unnecessarily. And, we've been trying this out for 3 years now, and, I'd say let's give this a shot. Let's give the standard course of action for cities a chance to see if that helps out with the problem. It's not any permanent thing, but, it's the standard for a reason, and it makes sense that it might help with the problems that we've had in meetings in the past. So let's give it a go. I think it'd be a positive influence, but if not, we can always change it.
Okay, so I think on here we had, on page 4, F and K, slash in through those, and then on page 5.
Well, still some more on 4. Needs to be
Okay.
fixed. There needs to be, the very first one should be A. And what's A should be B, B should be C, C should be D. And A should say, it needs to define, mayor and presiding officer may ask for comments from the public in the, whatever we call it.
I think that's what Blake and I were talking about is, okay, so where would you want the public comments? Because on the agenda, we have this citizen comments under E, and it kind of
Right.
details, and that was because the attorney said, look, you need to have it front and center. So we could actually have citizen comments just right here, right after the invocation, you could have citizen comments.
Which is, that's what we were talking about, but what he's talking about, do we need to have that also in our rules?
Defined
in the rules,
Well,
so that you can put it,
but it says consideration of agenda items. That's, see, the agenda items isn't until like over here. Agenda
Okay.
items is a whole different section.
Well, that's true, so it should be up above consideration of agenda items. The first one should be, in my view, just to state it, that it's the mayor presiding officer is gonna ask for general comments, 3 minutes, or whatever we call it, the public general comments. Then, yeah, you'd start, A would be A, not as I suggested, but it should go up above general consideration of agendas.
Okay. Well, we were kind of addressing it on page 5 when it says appearance before town council. It says agenda item, quote, citizen comments, provides the opportunity for any member of the public to speak. And then we have that, or, where you could cross out or ask questions on any topic that is on the agenda. Then during the general public comments, agenda items, citizens may also make comments on items not on the posted meeting agenda, but town council members will be unable to deliberate but may provide factual responses. There will be an opportunity to speak and on public hearing. Now that should be a capital P and capital H. Public hearing is a type of meeting. As those items are announced for those type meetings, that should be a capital P, capital H. That is, like for budget, we had a public hearing. That's always the case in state law that you have to let them speak on that agenda item. And then on the second paragraph at the bottom, we could just add maybe the citizen input will be immediate following the invocation. And you could just,
I'm sorry, where are you saying that?
she is up there in this paragraph.
Yeah, I agree, we need to have a place for it, state the
Yeah.
place.
So you could, on that second paragraph at the end,
Oh,
you could just
okay.
make a statement that says citizen input will be immediately following the invocation.
Okay,
If,
that's fine.
you know, council is agreeable to that. And that way we have, it kind of makes sense, because it never made sense to me, even though the attorney put like that there, it's like, okay, it's not really, we're not doing anything there, it's just a notice.
Notice, yeah.
How well informed do you think our citizens are at the beginning of the meetings?
How well informed they are,
Yeah.
Pretty well informed.
Think so?
some of them are.
Yeah,
Think so?
I think a lot of them, yeah, spend a lot
They'll
of time.
look over the packet.
And I,
Well, but they're maybe at the topic, but they certainly don't know where we stand. I mean, they haven't heard us talk yet, so.
kind of like to know where they stand too. I'd like some input from them. I mean, I do
When they
get,
inputted on the zoning though, they were classified as either lambasting or doxing when they text everybody their comments on that.
well,
Remember?
if you email me through my email address,
Yeah.
that's the way to contact me.
Okay.
When you take my personal phone and blow it up with a bunch of texting, I don't appreciate that. I pay for all that.
But a zoning is a public hearing. Now, that is different than just a regular meeting. So, in a public hearing is a state law. Public hearing is a type of meeting, and in that, you have to have them speak on that agenda item at the time. So, for budget, for zoning, for several things, the state mandates that you have to do it that way. For a regular meeting, we don't have to, and most cities don't. And even counties don't. So, a lot of counties, they don't do it the way that we're doing it. And our attorney has said, I think your meetings will go better if you did it like most other cities. You know?
Yeah, we knew the day was coming when the citizens wouldn't be able to get to speak on every agenda item. That's
Well,
been,
they do though. That's state law. They absolutely do. They can speak on any agenda item.
I'm saying during the
and-
meeting, before
yeah.
you interrupt me anymore. We knew that day was coming because we've been fighting this, and Brian Vincent actually supported me in it last time, and that's why it stayed. Now we got a new council, so I knew it was coming. But if that's the route it's going to go, I don't want to see the general comment go to the beginning, because I don't think people have enough. Some people don't have internet access. Some people don't have access to any of this, and this is where they get their information. So to claim that they're informed, I think that's subjective at best.
Well, I know some are. I mean, you're right. Probably some are not.
Well, and we can always ask for, a citizen expert, we can always ask if we need clarification, like say someone made you know what, I think it'll be more focused. So if someone really has something that their person seems to say, they'll say it, and if it needs more clarification, I can ask, and say.
But you're the only one that can open the floor to them.
Well, we can
So
have,
if they
you
disagree with
you
you-
actually can, so you can say, hey, I'd really like to hear from so-and-so.
Yeah,
Then
she
as
would have
long-
to recognize it,
As
but
long as the mayor or the presiding
You have to
officer.
recognize it.
Yeah.
Then we could. If it's gonna be productive, then yes, absolutely. But if it's something, you know, we've heard 20 times before, then it's not really helping us. It's not really productive.
There's so much subjectivity built into that statement, though.
Well, I think our meetings have run very long, and we're doing it to ourselves. And as Simeon said, you know, hey, other towns do it this other way for a reason. You know, when I had a citizen who, she texted me after the last meeting, and she said, wow, she said, I've never been to a council meeting. That was my first, and that will be my last. She said, you very much need security services, and I cannot believe, wow, that was crazy. That was just crazy. And so I feel like we're doing a disservice to a lot of our citizens who cannot wait through a 4-hour meeting. And so I do think it would be better to have it, let's just try it. Have it up
So
to
to
the front.
compromise, if we may, because I can tell you I know which way this council's going. If we strike F and K, can we leave the general comments at the end? Even if we have a special comment at the beginning, I don't know. I feel like I want to hear the people after they hear us discuss it.
Right.
That was why Councilman Vincent ended up agreeing with me, because he wanted to hear it after the people were fully informed. Transparent as we can be. So,
But general comments is for things
but they
outside
can
of the
speak
agenda.
anything on that agenda. It doesn't have to be outside the agenda.
Well, normally,
And
it's for
not even
something
normally, it
besides.
just allows them the ability to go outside the agenda. Doesn't say they have to be outside the agenda.
Um,
No.
Well, I would like to get legal on that because
They can speak about anything.
Well-
They can speak about the football game last night.
after the
Yeah.
vote, there was some language. After the vote, then it's not really helpful, is it? I don't think it's really helpful after a vote.
It's a fait accompli at that point.
It-
So-
it-
so,
Well, it's
you
just
know,
another avenue to complain when, if they need to get their comments in before the vote. And after that, that's just kind of, let's come to the table with solutions. I'm tired of hearing all the problems and the whining and the complaining, and they have the right to do that.
do have the right.
However, we have way more of the negative bluster, that is not helpful and it's not productive. Come to the table, come to us with solutions, not just complaints, is what I would love to see. I
Put that
don't
in this
think it's
document,
healthy.
I mean, put that in this document. I'm not gonna tell them how they can exercise their First Amendment right.
We're
That
not,
was given to us by the Constitution.
we're not telling them.
Well, you're suggesting.
I'm saying that we've had a lot of negative Nellies and
We have.
we have, and it's,
But are we looking in the mirror? Are we inviting any of
well,
that?
but here's what's happening. I have probably 7 or 8 people have told me that they will not come to the meeting because they don't want to hear all that. They don't want to hear all the negativity.
But Tara, even if it's at the beginning, you can't prevent that.
No.
Sure can.
So, I mean, I like it at the beginning just because, if I'm not on the council and I wanted to make a talk about something, I'd want to come in
Get
at
it?
the very beginning, say it, and then go home.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to wait till 10 or 11 o'clock at night to do that. So, to me, it makes sense for people to say it at the beginning. But if someone wants to say something that's, we don't like, well, they still have that right.
They absolutely do.
And I
But
think, to me,
we've had a lot of-
the spirit of making the change should be to make the meetings more productive, not to be punitive, right? Because I don't think we're ever gonna punish people into behaving differently. I appreciate when people speak, forget the noisy ones or the noisy incidents, not noisy ones, but, when we get a little bit loud. But I like to hear their thoughts. I like us to deliberate, and then they kind of weigh in. Now, I guess we'll just have to take notes, because they're gonna weigh in at the beginning without really knowing what we're gonna say. And then sometimes I have a change of heart, because I'm like, I didn't think about that. I mean, they brought up a good point. I heard something useful. And so I think, to me, it would be to make the meetings run more efficiently, not to try to punish people out of, saying what they wanna say.
Well, I think absolutely.
But I think
We're-
Because the
they're,
problem is, I'm worried that someday I may be coming to the meetings
Yeah.
and I may be the target.
Yeah.
I'm not
well,
proposing
not
I'm gonna be.
target. It's to me, it's more laser focused. I think we have a lot of wasted time when they're just grandstanding. Let's get to the point. Please give us your comment. I love when people have productive, helpful comments that maybe we haven't thought of. And if someone was maybe out of time, we absolutely can acknowledge later, hey, we'd like to ask a question about what you were saying earlier. That's still in the capability. So I'm with you on that, is I want people to provide a different viewpoint on things, and that's really productive. But I think the way I think we can improve. I just think we can improve.
I guess our point right now is, do we move it to the front and, not have comments on individual items as we go? And I'm in favor of that. I think that's the way it's written. I mean, I understand now, my edits weren't really as good as what you put out, so I'm in favor of doing it. And then that last one was to make sure that, the last edit was make sure that it goes, we say in here, it's gonna go at the beginning, right after the invocation, or whatever we want, and then that clarifies that it's at the beginning of the meeting. And then then the only question is it 3 minutes or 4 minutes or what? Do we change that?
Simeon, did you have something?
I was just gonna say that, whenever I'm not a councilman going to these meetings, I would want it to be at the start, so I can give the opinion before it's voted on, and B, I also would wanna have to sit through comments on every single item, because it'd be wearing, honestly, especially if I'm not a councilman, I'm not gonna sit through that. And that's, what several people said to me. I've had a lot of people reach out to me specifically wanting before at the start, so I'm in favor of that.
We might actually get more productive comments because they are willing to come.
What
And,
was,
at the beginning of the meeting, okay?
what was the average time that Evie researched for comments?
I'd have to go back and look. Yeah, three or
It
4
was
minutes.
3
It's-
minutes.
yeah,
was like-
3 minutes is what I
always like the
remember, but I
standard.
didn't know if you would.
But I do have a binder that, I mean, Eddie spent not hours, she spent days listening, calling the mayors, calling the secretaries of the different towns, looking in and listening to their, what happened in the council meetings. And I mean, she spent an enormous amount, and she got a section for each one of these towns, and she did it in North Texas. She didn't do it up in North Carolina. It was North Texas, and it's, a dozen or so in this area. But she spent so much time that she knew it really well. And so the answer is, they all said the same. No, just have it at the beginning. Even the ones that have comments, that allow comments on the agenda items, they told her they had very few that would do that. Most people want to come in, make the comments at the beginning, and then leave.
So I feel like there's 6 different versions of what we want to change this to. I mean, you've got some stuff
Well,
highlighted that's not mine.
I withdraw
mean,
mine because I didn't realize it was already taken
Right,
care
but
of.
what are we
Should I go
proposing?
over that?
Go back over your,
Okay.
Yeah, word for word,
So,
because I've
okay,
got a lot of,
Okay, so page 1 is fine, page 2 is fine, well, there's a missing a page 3.
I've got it.
Do we, is
No,
it
it's
missing?
not.
it's flipped over.
it's flipped over.
Oh, okay. So, all right, so page 3 is fine. Page 4
Forward.
is the consideration of agenda items. So we would just exit out, cross out F and K, and of course renumber accordingly.
And ignore what I said.
Wait a minute, so F is members of the public provided the opportunity to make comments for 3 minutes, okay, but where are we going to say that they do that at the beginning of the meeting?
On page 5, and then take out K, and then on page 5, under appearance before town council. And that's what I was reading before. Agenda item, citizen comments provides the opportunity for any member of the public to speak, and we cross out or ask questions
Right.
on any topic that is on the agenda. During the general public comments agenda items, citizens also make comments on any items not on the posted meeting agenda. But town council members will be unable to deliberate, but may provide factual responses. There will be an opportunity to speak on public hearings. That's capital P, capital H, because that is items as those are announced for those type meetings. That's a specific type of meeting. So there's, because the state law requires on public hearings that you have it on that agenda, like budget, zoning, it is on that item exactly. And then the end of paragraph 2, just adding citizen input will be immediately following the invocation, and then we need to say for a period of 3 or 4 minutes, and then 6 minutes
If an interpreter.
if
yeah.
an interpreter. So we
Yeah.
would move that language on F, just move it here.
Point me back to that, where's that at? That's
She's saying add that.
on
Add
page
that
5.
on page 5
Second paragraph bottom,
Oh, after,
after items are announced.
for a period of 3 minutes, 6 with interpreter. Now, do you want to do citizen comments / general comments, like all in one? I know
No,
when I went
I'm
to the
with Terry.
county.
I'd like citizen comments up front and then general public comments at the end, which could include agenda stuff, like, hey, I'm proud of you for voting that way, or I disagree with that. Or they wanna talk about football, I mean, they talk about anything, but.
Well, I like them all, both at the front. Just
Yeah.
get them all done right then. Let people say what they want.
But they're not gonna comment on our behavior
Well-
in any way, shape, or
They
form,
can
because
go
they
to the
haven't seen
next-
it
They
yet.
can go to the next meeting, next meeting they
Yeah,
can.
but that's a month later, I don't think anybody's gonna carry the thought over that far.
Well, I'm for them
they
being
have.
both at the beginning, which, they're all citizen comments. They will be either on agenda items or general. That's another reason. It gives them the liberty to, because they tend to wander off a topic sometime on agenda items.
I know when I was before Commissioners Court, that's the way they do it. They just say, and I had, my agenda item was canceled, but I said, well, can I speak under general comments? Absolutely. So I was able to, even though the agenda item had been postponed, I could speak under general comments and get my.
Which was at the front of the meeting?
It was.
Can we consider editing page 6 as well? Can we add some language in there, how we address council member conduct standards if there is misconduct? There's nothing in there that remedies misconduct.
Well, I don't know, that's not, the attorney has said that's not the place for this. you would have to,
That's not the place for why.
so that would have, something like remedying council member conduct would have to go through the attorney before we could approve that.
So we needed to, because we've tried to pass a code of conduct and we can't get that passed.
Well,
We have
that
this
was on,
conduct standard in here, but it
I
doesn't
remember
address it.
we're supposed to have that on the forum, that, I haven't seen that on the forum.
Yeah,
So-
Mike put it on there.
Yeah, it's on there.
And I didn't need to comment because I agreed with it. There's been no other comments.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I haven't seen that.
So we
So
can't
what do
edit this, it's already on here.
Yeah, what do you
So,
like or don't like
What
about
I'm
it?
saying is,
It doesn't tell us how to bring up, to call the conduct of each member on both their official and private affairs that should be above reproach.
again, the attorney would have to look at that.
Well,
We cannot put something in writing that's against state law, so that would
Well, I
A
think
point of
there's
order,
state law.
we're, we're off topic though. This
We're
is,
editing this document, y'all.
Yeah.
no,
Right.
we're revising,
We're revising citizen
read number
comment.
10.
But,
Yeah.
but it
He's
falls
right.
into this,
Okay,
the agenda item.
okay, I'm
These are all
gonna say
agenda items.
that point of order, we're not talking about that
We
particular
don't want
item.
to talk about it, okay.
Well, I mean, it is, we're talking about public
I don't
comments,
see anything.
and that's not anything to do with this topic at all.
Okay.
You're off topic.
Thank you for letting me know that.
All right, so do we have a motion?
Well, do you have to have any comments from the audience?
Yeah, we still
We
have to look
do.
at that form for this meeting.
Okay, agenda number 10, Shelley Smith.
Y'all, look at this room. Do you notice a problem with this room? Could it be that there's no one here because this agenda item has let them know that you don't care to hear from them? At every meeting, the mayor starts off with, "We welcome you and we want you to feel heard, informed, valued, and connected to your town and its council. We welcome diversity of opinion and we want minority views as well as majority views." But then she's been known to say, citizen participation is mostly problematic. A few weeks ago, Sam Blake made the comment that since no one spoke up about a topic at a recent meeting, that indicated to him that there was no opposition to his agenda item, which led us to believe that once upon a time, he had valued citizen input. Now he wants to eliminate it. Why? Because the citizens have become a problem to him. We've discussed this very agenda item in past meetings. Certain members of the council wishing to move citizen comments to the beginning so that we could not speak up after learning what exactly would be discussed. The agenda packet certainly doesn't reveal much to us, so we must wait to know whether or not we should speak. Could it also be that you're concerned that some citizens make too much sense? Therefore, they must be silenced. Part of the decorum resolution says that even council members have a right to be heard. What happened to that right last month when two councilmen who are not her fellas, as she calls the other three, wanted to discuss an item, but were refused that right? And sorry, Mike, I remember it differently than you. So the mayor and her fellas, who vote lockstep with her, are now running the town with wild abandon, knowing they hold the majority vote, that is, as long as they vote as the madam has instructed them to. I implore you to think for yourselves. Stop just blindly following, because I assure you that if you don't, you will not need to worry about sitting at this table after Election Day. The people know and will not reelect you.
We have a motion.
That was it? Okay, I'll make a motion, we accept it. It's item 10 with the edits that we just discussed.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Anderson, seconded by Blake. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, and that motion passes 3-2. Okay, moving on to number 11. So, BHC Task Order number 104, Engineering Possibilities. So, last meeting we got that the day, we got this, and I wanted you to be able to see this. So, they had the revised, updated Articles of Incorporation map, preparation of updated Articles of Incorporation map and description with the assistance of shapefiles provided by the Town of Poetry, and remember that was from Stovall. Town of Poetry shall also provide a corrections list to resolve discrepancy. We had an ordinance that we passed that will do that, found on the original Articles of Incorporation map, POB/POE table. And then he has, the preparation shall not exceed 25,000. So that was quite a bit jump up. I will say that I did check with our attorney. And he said you can absolutely look for other prices. I did check with the city manager of Talty, gave me 2 engineering firms. KSA Engineering is quite big. A fellow surveyor named Chris Berry, I talked with him. I sent him the files, but he has yet to get back with me. So I was hoping, I sent that to him, weeks ago. And he hasn't given me any kind of range. I was like, can you give us a ballpark on what this might cost? I was kind of wanting to get some reference. I do know that Mayor Craig of Union Valley said that their map, of course, they're only like, they're like a fourth of our size. Their map was like 10,000, is what he said. That's what he told me.
And it's pretty much rectangular as well, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It's not
So
as
it's a lot
complex.
easier.
Well, I mean, they do circumvent roads, but it is smaller. It is quite a bit smaller.
So are we talking about going to other firms for price or going to other firms for possible issuance of the work to them, giving them the job?
Well, and 25,000 was just a very large number. It was larger than what they originally had said, and so it was kind of sticker shock. Maybe we need to suck it up and pay it, but I did try to reach
Well, I'm not saying it's a good
out.
price. I just wonder about the idea of, I mean, we've told these people you are a town engineering
Yeah.
firm, and then last time we did that with law firms, we got in trouble. So,
Contract.
yeah, I mean, it's like either there are people or they're not, so have we, and maybe you said this, if you did, I apologize because I wasn't listening, I was reading it, but have we gone back and said can you help me understand that, that's like way too expensive, or that's a different number than you said before, or have we?
Well,
I know
yeah,
you
He gave a
talked
good
to-
explanation of it last time.
right. Well, I mean, basically, they said, with all the additional things that came about, and Terry, you were there for most of the discussion, I think. We talked about it some after you left, but I think you heard most of it, is that this was just grew into a lot more, and at first, they have to use their ACE engineer/surveyor, which is Chase Crawford. They were doing it with somebody at a lower cost, which I interpreted meaning they were gonna have Chase just verify what the other person did. But then Gary said now they're having to put Chase on it to do all of the work because of all of the questions that came up, and you caught quite a few of them, and they had to go back twice and correct what they had. So he said now they're just doing it with Chase Crawford, which is at a higher rate, because not only is he fully qualified, but he's also a partner. So we're paying a partner rate to do this because, they want to get it right. And partly that, and he admits, it's because of the lawsuit. Because they know they've been subpoenaed for a deposition, so they know they have to get it right, because if they get subpoenaed, they got to be able to prove that, yeah, they did this thorough job. So those are all reasons why the cost went up, as opposed to what they originally planned, which, having done this, you have somebody at a lower cost do the bulk of the work, and then somebody that's got the PE stamp to review it, check it, and stamp it. Well, in this case, they said they're going to review it and stamp it, but they're not going to have somebody else do it. Chase Crawford's going to do it all.
So what is the deliverable? Is it against what we voted on last month, which was a changed list of distances and some markups on the map?
They're going to redo the map. This is what I understood. They're going to redo the map that we gave them, except it's going to be their map, and then on it, they're going to stamp it as both a PE and a surveyor.
But at whose direction? What are they?
Well, we already gave them
We gave them the
direction.
direction.
Okay,
with
so
the
we gave them
ordinance.
the markups.
Well, let me clarify. the ordinance is giving them the direction, the one that we passed last month, we would give that to them. If you guys approve this task number, sheet number 104, we'd give them the ordinance, in that we'd say, hey, the council approved this expenditure, then that would give them, and that's what they were wanting. They were wanting direction.
But they'd be
from-
working off the GISS coordinates, plus our changes that we gave on that list in the last
So
time.
are they gonna fix things like it simply says start here and go there, that's a line,
They're gonna go,
which is gonna have square edges,
they're
are they
gonna go-
gonna fix the
Well,
radius?
Yeah.
on
Yes.
our ordinance, we said
Yes.
it with arcs.
With
Remember,
arcs.
we
Okay, so they're
modified
to
gonna
the
have
center of the
define-
road.
Yeah, it fixed, anything that was a discrepancy, was unclear, it fixed all that.
But it's gonna be their map,
And they
not
did
it's our
say,
map.
yeah, they did say, and if they're gonna stamp and seal it, then they are gonna do it their way,
But
and it's gonna be.
but realizing the potential for being deposed in a lawsuit, they wanna have it all done that way.
They had to
So-
retain an attorney,
So,
Oh, yeah.
so because of, me not having any background and being able to point out multiple flaws, now we have to pay the higher rate than the original conversation we had. When we had those conversations, just like engineering firms you were a part of, they let the junior engineers do it, at a lower rate for cost savings, and then the upper engineers, and in this case, the upper RPLSs would stamp it. But because of the discrepancies that were found, now we pay top rate.
And the lawsuit.
They can't use the lawsuit because all they can charge us for is time, which diligence would be in their favor.
Well, it
Well,
does, and that they have to use a partner now instead of a lower rate, with a partner doing 10% of the work. Now it's a partner doing 100% of the work.
So on task sheet 101, we had approved the $1,800. They spent probably $6,500 and discounted all that. So the errors that you found, they discounted all that. So,
So the second thing, I mean, however this votes tonight, but the decision in September that is going to be the article or the ordinance that we give them to draw it on. But even in our minutes, it says that we had debate over when the POEs and POBs were done. You kept telling council they were done in May, they were done in May, they were done in May.
they were documented in May. They were documented in May.
November 24th, 2020, guys. Y'all can look at that county clerk stamp.
Well, the stamp, well,
You want to look at it?
I'm just saying that on the document we have in here, it's stamped May 11th of 2021.
I think they doubled down in May and re-voted on it.
Maybe they did.
But
I don't
just-
have that document.
Yeah, but to tell, and I told you I'd had it, I seen
But
it.
that's kind of, it's not that important, except that document was Stovall Engineering. It wasn't Dorothy Dillon, it was
No,
Stovall
and that's
Engineering.
fine, but I'm
But
saying
I
that
haven't, I'd like to get a copy of that, I don't
you
have that
can
one.
make a copy when we're
Yeah,
done.
yeah.
But we kept telling council that, no, the commissioners court passed it, and then the engineers did it in May. This is gonna prove that it was done in November, and this is what the county commissioners agreed upon.
What I meant, that it was stamped in May.
But
It was stamped May 11th, so if you're
and
saying it was
this one's
stamped
stamped
earlier.
November 20th,
So that's
2024.
interesting.
Is it the same
Yeah.
table?
Same table.
So it
guys.
has the same errors.
Same, this is the defining language.
It has the same errors.
What do we wanna call error?
Well,
What do we wanna call error?
well,
You tell me on a map where a certain point is.
Okay, so
I-
we're
I
kinda getting
can't
off
tell you.
topic, guys.
I want the guys to be informed, and if you say, hey, I'm good with the vote I made, that's on you.
that's right. I'm good with
Okay.
the vote.
Mi-
Okay, point of order.
Mr. Tom, you're an engineer, and I know how stickler for details you are. I don't want you to be misled to know that the engineers passed this, the county commissioners passed this engineered stamp, or this engineered data, the survey data in November, okay? I don't want you to be misled.
Okay, so Shelley Smith? Okay, so any other comments on the BHC Task Order 104 and engineering possibilities?
Make a motion, we accept the, as shown, 25,000.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Anderson, second by Blake. All those in favor of this BHC Task Order 104? All those opposed? Okay, and that passes 3 and 2. Okay. All right, moving on to number 12. Discussion of permits and inspections of new and remodel construction. Councilmember Fowler asked for this to be on the agenda, and
So I get multiple calls, and it could be because of my second job and being in construction, but I get citizens calling all the time, wanting to buy property or have property, won't know what they can do. What is the process? I don't have any documentation to tell them what the process is. So permits, inspections, approval by the city, setbacks, all that. Are we expecting the citizens to read the zone ordinance and build as close as they can to it? What's the process for everybody?
Well, a lot of times I've gotten numerous emails, and so in the county actually makes me sign off on a letter that I've written. So I'm glad we're talking about this. So because of the new zoning ordinance, what I have done is I look for the property ID, I go to the CAD, I look it up, I see how many acres is, who it is, and then I'll do a site visit and see, okay, is this a single family residence or what is this? And then I ask them, is this a replacement septic? What is this? You know, it's been mainly septic because the county contacts me for the septic. And so then I'll do the site visit and then I'll ask them, okay, is this a replacement? And according to our zoning, you can do a replacement for the septic as long as it's a replacement. Now, if it's a new build, we did have one new build, but she had receipts prior to the incorporation or the zoning. And so she had receipts from January, and so she was grandfather claused in, and so she got to do that.
Moving forward, new builds,
new
they're calling me
builds-
today, want to know what the process is. What do I tell the citizens?
Well, they would have to get a letter from the mayor that the county has required
Have
of
we
me.
written that anywhere?
We haven't, the county
That
has
should be in the
required
zoning
that.
document?
I don't think zoning.
We have to proceduralize
There's
this somehow.
administrative things. Now, the county has required, I just wrote back in an email and they said, no, you have to write on your letterhead. It's like when we do a letter for a fence that is in the right of way. I wrote a letter on letterhead. I signed it, had Mayor Pro Tem Blake sign it. It's an official letter, like you have 30 days to, because that's administrative. That's not necessarily, just like Mayor, Berman has said, administratively, there's things that I have to do. I go do road checks. It's not necessarily written anywhere
Well, but
that I
this
do
is
road
more
checks.
official, so you're mayor / building official?
Well, right now, we don't have public works. We don't have any of
I
that.
know.
So we don't have a code enforcer. We don't have any of that. So yeah, it kind of falls on my head.
So anybody calls me, call the city building official to our second pitch?
Well, we don't have that position, and so if you would like to do something to make it an official, we don't have any. We have 2 part-time secretaries and the mayor, and so that's the way it rolls.
Yeah, so I think we need those following documents. I think on the forum you referred to me and Jaffe as kicking the can down the road, and I think that's the due diligence that was missed in that rush zoning ordinance. We should have discussed on how these proceed. I've had one citizen not buy a house because they didn't know if they can rebuild it. I said, well, read the ordinance. He's like, I can't read it. I don't know if I can.
Have them call me and I can help
So
explain.
you'll be the subject
Absolutely.
matter expert on the zoning?
I have done that for numerous people,
Okay.
and if there's a question I don't know, I'll consult Berman on it.
Okay,
But
well, let's
I've
put
had.
that in the Poultry Post then. I think that'd be a good way to
Okay.
inform citizens.
I'm happy to. One of my favorite things is to help people find solutions, and so if they're trying to build, I've helped. Helped numerous citizens on these kind of things.
Okay.
Well,
And
and
I'm
I
happy to
point
do
out,
it.
the mayor is the chief executive
Yeah.
of the town.
Yeah.
So even if we had somebody, it still comes to the mayor.
What happens
any
if
mistakes
there's a
are made.
compliance discrepancy
There
down
we
the
go.
road? I mean, what's the,
You mean the compliant? Well, I asked Mayor Craig.
and I'm
what
not
do
accusing
do?
you of anything, but let's say you interpret the P and Z a certain way, they build a house, and then future councils come back and say, whoa, wait a minute, that's not how we
Legally
interpret this.
non-conforming.
They gotta move that house, it's a foot over the
Well,
line,
if there's,
or it's a-
most of it's been cut and dry. I'm like, okay, and I've said it like, okay, if you're gonna build a house, I just take it from the document. But if there's some sort of gray, that hasn't come up yet.
To me, if we had and I'm not saying we're ready for this, but I remember the P and Z meetings, cause we did have several of them, saying, and the next step needs to be, we need to sort of put this into motion, right? And how are we gonna implement it, and what are gonna be the consequences and whatever. But each of these approvals needs to be documented somehow. I mean, if I went to the city of Rowlett and said I want to build a pool, they would fill out a form and they would document that they approved my pool, so that if somebody comes back later, an inspector, and says that pool's illegal, I can say, well, wait a minute. Your other guy said it's legit. So I guess I just want to make sure that we're covering ourselves as a town.
Well, our zoning, the one beautiful thing about our zoning ordinance is very simple. So there's not a lot of rules in it. So it's pretty simple. You know, 75-foot setbacks from the front center of the road, 5 from the back, 5 foot from the side. Don't make it over 40 foot high. You need 2.5 acres per dwelling. Your driveway should go to your house, or you can have driveway to a barn or shop.
How wide's the driveway?
30 foot, I think, is
How
what
many
they
can you have?
You can have one to your house and one to your barn. Now those kind of things I would have to, be specific and look those up. But everything is documented. So if there's a letter that I've written, I have them documented. It's on town, and if I make a mistake, I own it. If there's a mistake, but we've had a handful of these.
Well, I'm not indicting you in any way. I'm just thinking, from here going forward, again, if I was, considering purchasing land and poetry and spending a lot of money on a house, I would want to be really sure that I was building it in the right place, turned the right direction with the right driveways and all that, because I don't want to build it and then be burdened with,
Well, Mike, in our current situation, if the mayor gave them a letter saying this is what you've got to comply with, that's about as legal as you can get.
Well, it's all we got.
That's not true.
I agree with that, but I don't know.
City of Dallas is facing lawsuits right now where they gave a lot of people right around the Love Field to go to build these multi-million-dollar houses, and then they come back and go, oh, we shouldn't have done that. That's a historic district or some kind of special district, and they've got massive houses going up. So it's not always as cut and dry as that.
Well, yeah, someday down the road, we may face that.
Well, and I did email Attorney Berman on this. And he said, look up chapter 214 and chapter 54. He said, it's maybe a little premature, but we don't even have a municipal court. You don't have a code enforcer. We have none of it. And he said, it's a little premature, but I mean.
But to Mike's point, we got to start documenting this stuff now
Well, it's
because
already been documented.
I'm
already doing it.
I didn't know that when I asked for this agenda item, if we're clear on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving forward, I would expect everything, because when a question is called in 10 years from now, they're gonna say, well, I built that in 2022 or 2024, and
So
Well, the zoning
not
had
only
already been
is it on
passed.
email, but I printed a copy, a paper copy, and it's in my file in here, and
Okay.
I've told Secretary Teresa where that is.
okay, so public, we're gonna do it on the public, our post, or the
No.
poetry post? We're
It's
gonna
a contact.
advertise?
Advertise on the poetry post. We can do
Anybody
that.
wanting to do new construction, or really it's any construction, remodel construction's considered, cause if
they
they're
ha- if they
extending
have
their house.
questions, I mean, but again, the beautiful thing about our zoning ordinance is it's very simple.
Well, but doesn't it get a little bit complicated if they want to add on to an existing structure that's non-compliant?
Simeon, what is your take on that? Did you hear that?
Yes, I did. So there's only one circumstance where you really have to worry about that, and that's if the 3 or 4 people that have their front yards within the setbacks already, if they wanted to expand on their property forward even farther towards the road, beyond that, remodeling is completely fine. There's nothing against it. Technically, we have an area, green space area limit, but they would have to add, 100,000 square feet in most circumstances. So, the whole point of this is to let people keep doing what they've been doing this whole time. Go and remodel as much as you want. I mean, there's pretty much no way for you to break the ordinance unless you're going to shove the remodel right up against a property line that you're already super close to, or something like that. Those setbacks are really going to be the thing.
Right, but I don't think, again, as a citizen, I would want to be the one that did the interpreting of the
Absolutely.
P and Z, because I would want something, and if David were here, he would use whatever term he said, like, well, she was acting in that capacity, so there's a expectation that she had the right to do that, right? So I would want something in writing that says, you know, this was okay. Because if I read it and interpret it, and I interpret it wrong, you can say, well, you never asked me, right, or the council or whoever's running it.
That's essentially a permit. They don't have to cost money, but it's a permit. It's a request to build.
Well,
It's just an
I don't
approval.
want a permit, but I
So do you go to
have
the job site if they're building it and measure from the fence to their?
I could.
I know you can.
I could. I have a.
Do we need
I
to,
have
or
a
do they need
will.
to provide a map to
Well,
the city?
but you understand, a lot of times it's not even done yet. Like it's not. But for instance, I had a question. I've had several questions on this front, and so I've asked Simeon a couple questions on for clarification. I said, hey, the zoning ordinance is on our website, but it is in a nutshell. I would point just some the majors. Here's a nutshell what the major things are. But I had one question. She was like, well, if my house had to be torn down, say, it's really old, it had to be torn down, does that mean I couldn't rebuild it? And I said, no, you can rebuild up to 150% of the cost of the value of that home. She goes, well, what's the value? I said, well, it's not written and it's very vague. So you could find an appraiser give you a value, and as long as you don't go over 150%, you can build that home over, in the same spot. We wrote that in the ordinance.
And just to clarify, that's for non-compliant buildings. So if anybody that's complying, their house burns down, they can build it back, 100
Right.
times.
And hers was, I think she has 2 acres or something, and so that's what she was concerned about that. But she was very relieved to know that that's, it's not a problem.
And so that's an example of something that you would have written up and put in the file, or
Well,
no?
in that one, it was kind of this ethereal question. It wasn't, she's not doing anything at all. It was just a concern. So she called me, and I just explained that to her. Now, there was another one, he was actually having to work with Kaufman County because part of his property is in the county, and then part of it's in the city. And so I did have to consult Attorney Berman on that one. I said, can they really make him jump through all these hoops? And the majority of his property that he's trying to sell is in the county, so yes, he has to comply with the county, even though he is a Poetry citizen. And so,
It's not an ETJ?
well, there's a portion.
ETJ goes a half mile past our boundaries.
Well, he's trying to sell 2.5 acres. He was complying with the ordinance, but he was trying to sell 2.5 acres, but it's a long strip, so most of it, the majority was in the county. So he has to meet their requirements.
So you're saying that most of it's outside the ETJ?
No, it's in the ETJ,
Okay.
but it's outside the town. So even if it's in the ETJ or outside the ETJ, they still have to comply with Kaufman County subdivision regulations.
Say that one more time.
They're having to comply, as we mentioned, by default. Kaufman County subdivision regulations are kicking in, and they're holding them accountable to those. So he's dividing his property. I think he has 6 total acres. He's wanting to sell 2.5 acres, and so he's having to, and he reached out to me, and I'm like, so then I had to consult Berman, and sure enough, they do have the right. Kaufman County does have the right to do that, apparently.
He has to replat it with the county.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not building anything on it.
No, but
He's
the
not
new
putting septic
owner
on
is
it.
potentially, they're wanting to put horses out there,
So,
but they're
yeah.
potentially gonna build.
So he's having to replat, yes.
He's having to replant it, yes.
So we've covered a lot of other things on the agenda that, are interesting, but they're not as meaty as this. At what point do we feel like it's relevant for us to come back and take the next step with zoning, right? Start laying out the constructs of,
Well, I don't know, Mayor Craig said they have 1 infraction a year, it's not a big deal. They take it before a magistrate judge, and it's not a big deal. So
But they also use Bureau Veritas to do their building inspections.
they do, but they didn't have inspections for years and years and years. I mean, we're only 4 years into this. I was looking at this, it says we may. We may, we don't have to have permitting.
No, we don't have to.
But if
That's
you
how
do.
you double down and make sure that
Yeah,
things
but
built
if you
right.
do, then you have to have a lot of rules, and we just don't have we just don't have the resources to do that. I just don't see it.
so right now, we're just basically providing an interpretive service. We interpret the P and Z for them and give them our interpretation of.
Well, thankfully, it's only 18 pages, and it's
Right.
not that complicated.
But yes.
I would not get into the permitting at all. I mean, there's nothing that screams big city like permitting. I mean, the point of this zoning ordinance was so that we wouldn't be like the other big cities. And as soon as you start requiring permits, requiring these sorts of things, that's when you step into that territory. Right now, we're, helping them out with something they could do themselves, which is read whatever local laws happen to exist. And that can be the true with zoning or with any other laws that we set up, traffic or otherwise. I mean, we're here to help out, explain what we wrote, but I mean, permitting, that's a whole different thing.
So in this role, Tara, have you denied anybody? Have you told them, no, you can't do that, or has it always been it's okay?
I think I have to think back. I've had a good handful. I believe all of them, now the one that I just mentioned, I said, I'm sorry, you will have to comply with Kaufman County subdivision, or, the replatting.
Yeah, but that's not us. That's,
No, but he was like, help, mayor, help.
yeah, no.
And I'm like, I'm so sorry, but you're gonna have to, jump through their hoops, and there's nothing I can do about it. So that one, to me, was a little, but yeah, most of them have understood, once I talked to them, and they're like, okay. Like the fella that he called me and said, well, okay, so if I'm understanding the zoning ordinance correctly, I have to sell 2.5 acres. I'm like, yes, that would be prudent if they're wanting to put a home on it, unless you're just doing cattle. But, so he knew that.
Question, I don't know how long you talked to him. If he annexed all his property in, would that exclude the county from making him jump through the hoops?
Not
Well,
for replatting.
he was wanting.
We gave them that right.
We didn't give him anything.
No, we haven't given them anything.
No,
But
we haven't
he did
signed it
annex
yet,
in, but he was
that's
needing to
one
sell
of
it
those
right
we
away, and
haven't
he
finished.
had a buyer, so like there wasn't a lot of time to
Okay.
do that. But yeah, if anyone wanted to avoid those subdivision regulations, they could just voluntarily annex in, and then we don't have that. So that's an idea to do that. But he didn't have time. He already had a buyer lined up and everything.
Anything else with this?
No, it doesn't sound like Tara's gonna be the building official, and that's it. So.
I'm answering questions as best I can, and if they need a letter for the septic, I'm providing that. So, all right. So Shelley Smith, Kevin Sinkovich. Okay. All right. General public comments. Shelley Smith.
No, I'll pass.
Okay. Kevin Sinkovich. Jack Sinkovich.
No, pass.
Okay. All right, the time is 8:45. Meeting adjourned.